All right, so if you're ready, let's move on. We're going to talk now about the top 10 reasons to write a tell-all memoir. Number one, catharsis. Now, going just with a little bit of the obvious, when you're going into a tell-all type novel, there's probably some things in your history that you have to work through. So going through reflectively, processing your memories, processing, the things that maybe you should have maybe made peace with by now, or different things like that. This can be a really healing time of your life. I have some people who actually write a memoir. They take the whole year and they go through and just reflect and evaluate their entire lives, little bits at a time, and it really can help them make themselves whole again. So catharsis is the number one reason why you should do a tell-all. Number two, inspire others. So sharing your story can actually inspire and empower other people who are facing similar situations or struggles that you've already been through. So by you simply sharing your story, you have the potential to help save people the heartache, the heartbreak, the turmoil, the years lost on not knowing how to solve their problems, potentially even their lives. I don't want that to be blown up to, wow, you're a lifesaver. But I do want you to understand, you literally could save someone's life. It's a really, really big deal. That is why I'm so passionate about sharing memoirs and helping people help people, because we have the power to help other people, and just by sharing your story, and especially if you can reach the right people, you could be saving lives. So I don't want you to underestimate that or undervalue it, because inspiring others is a really, really big deal. All right, number three, setting the record straight. So there's a lot of people who have gone through their life and they've bitten their tongue when people have judged them or whatever. Maybe they've had people just make assumptions about them. Why did they not? I don't know. Why did they drop out of law school? Why did they cheat on their spouse? All of these things. People make these assumptions because the person who did it oftentimes just doesn't want to talk about it. And it's their business. They shouldn't have to talk about it. But at some point, a lot of people might find that, maybe someone has passed on, or they just no longer give a crap, and they decide it's time. I'm going to set the record straight. And they tell their tell-all story. And that is something that, maybe they would have burned a bridge if that person were still living, but after they're gone, maybe then it's time that they can tell their truth. So if it's something like that, just know you're not alone in that type of a scenario. It is fairly common, and it's a really great reason to do a tell-all. You still want it to be truthful, and not just from your perspective, harming people. That's not the goal, but it's to tell the truth. Number four, create a legacy. Now, I think that we tend to overuse this statement a lot, but at the same time, we underuse it, because when you talk about creating a legacy, what does that mean? What does it mean to you? And that may mean something entirely different to someone else. To some people, a legacy is, having your name on a memorial bench in a park. Maybe your legacy is that you donate $1,000 a year to, Special Olympics or something, and that makes you feel very, special. It's you giving back, you paying it forward, whatever. And those are all really great things. That is leaving a legacy. It is very special to the right people. When you're telling your story as part of leaving a legacy, that's a lot of different scenarios that could be wrapped into one there. So there's the person who might be my age, in their 50s, and realizing, their kids are grown, and maybe the kids are having kids, and maybe even grandkids or great grandkids by then. You never know. But when that person realizes, you know I haven't hardly seen my grandkids. They're spread all over the country, and I want them to know me. And even if we didn't spend a lot of time together, I would still like them to know who I was. And that is what I see a lot. And it's a beautiful way for a grandparent to tell their stories, leave some recipes, really share some neat things, but tell some good, some good stories that are funny too. And maybe talk about your first kiss to your grandkids. There's so many things that you could be helping your kids and your grandkids and many generations to come by simply sharing your stories. You don't have to have an overcomer story. You don't have to have a tragedy in your life. You can just have had a nice normal life, and you just want to share some of the good stories, the juicy details every now and then, things like that. So that's a really great way to leave a legacy. Now, another way to leave a legacy is when you've had those overcomer stories, when you've had the trauma in your life. Maybe you were a widow, from the war, uh, and maybe you never remarried, or whatever the story is. Share that. And that's not just for your family either, but it could be, obviously. But people want to know those stories. I mean, you see how when we have the military parents show up and reunited with their kids. I don't know about you, but I tear up every time. We ache to see and hear and read these stories. So we want the happy endings. We want to know the stories of survival. So leave that legacy. Leave that legacy. And I really think number 4 is probably one of the most common memoir tell-all purposes. And I really think that it's important that you do that. Now, moving on to number 5, building connections. Now, when you share your story to build connections, basically what I'm talking about here is you're wanting something on a deeper level with someone. You want to tell them your story, uh, things that you may not be comfortable, or maybe in conversation you wouldn't have that open door to actually share the things that you would put into your book, into your story. Because so much of the time when we're talking to each other, we're talking about weather, or the TV shows, or whatever it is. But when you tell your real story, and other people read the real stories, then they're like, oh my gosh, I totally connected with her on that. So when you're able to do that, it makes a connection with other people that you just can't undervalue. It's an amazing feeling. um, Number 6, simply honing your writing skills. When you talk about your memories and your stories and different things like that, whether you're journaling or actually drafting your memoir book, you are honing your writing skills. So if you don't know what to be writing, you know you want to write something, but you don't really know that you want to have a memoir, write your memoir anyway, just until you figure out what else you want to do. It's a perfect place to start because it's content that you absolutely know, it's your life, and it is something that you don't want to leave this world without somebody knowing what you felt and what you thought. So everybody should, whether you publish it or not, everybody should have their story, at least bits of it, written down somewhere, because someone needs to see that. But number 7, gaining perspective. And by that, I mean, when you reflect on your life at a later time, obviously, when you're in it, a lot of the times you're just either going through the motions, or you're in survival mode, or you're just enjoying it. You don't necessarily have that reflection time, but after a while, it means something else to you. And if you don't take the time to reflect on different points of your life, you really miss out on the experience. Because truly, it has been in my last years of all of the reflection that I've realized so many things. And if you don't take that time to reflect, then you just keep going until you're gone and you've never figured it out. So this is so important to gain that perspective, help you understand the experiences, maybe understand how the other people in different situations may have felt. It's a very eye-opening exercise if you allow it to be. Number 8, raise awareness. And by that, I'm talking about, a memoir can serve as a platform to raise, awareness and to discuss things that are very important to you. It can be a cause, an issue, things like that that are close to your heart. Maybe I know I mentioned Special Olympics a second ago. Maybe you have, a certain organization, or clean water, some sort of a something that really means something to you, and you want that to be spread out, for people to hear about it. If you say, clean water, clean water, clean water, people aren't going to listen to you. They just aren't. People want to see the stories. They want to know, there are children in this world who literally are drinking out of mud puddles where there's mosquitoes and bugs, and it's filthy, contaminated water. And most of, the water in that whole area is completely unhealthy, and children are dying every day from lack of clean water. It just wrecks your stomach when you hear the story and when you read the story, as opposed to clean water, you know what I mean? So when you're able to tell a story about something that matters to you instead of yelling it out, people will hear with their heart. They'll gravitate towards you and your cause and your thing that you want to raise awareness about. It will be heard much, much better than it would if you just yelled. All right. Number 9, establishing credibility. This is one of the really important things if you're in business, or if you're a speaker, a coach, anything like that. You have expertise in a certain field, and you want to either educate in that field or talk about how, I don't know if you know Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels, but one of his favorite comments is how you learned it or earned it. And so when you write a book, they call it a credibility piece. And when you share how you learned it or earned it, that expertise, people want to learn how you learned something. They don't necessarily want you to uh, just teach them something. They want to understand your journey. And so when you share your story, you've actually taken them on a journey that they understand. You're saving them time, and you're saving them the headache and the heartache of having to go through all of the lessons, the bumps and the bruises themselves. And you're helping them by what you're showing them or teaching them. So by that, it's very important that you tell them your journey, how you learned it or earned it, because that matters. All right. And then finally, guys, number 10, and this is not something that you can ever count on, but it's something that obviously I think most people hope for, and that's financial gain. Now, like I said, it is never guaranteed, but especially when it's a tell-all type memoir, a lot of people will consider just buying a book because they just want to see if there's something juicy in there. They want to get the scoop. They want to know. And so when you write a tell-all, you do have, in my opinion, a higher chance of making sales. Now, understand that a tell-all is not fiction. So you still have the legal implications, the risks of if you tell all, you may make some sales, but you may get a lawsuit. So just kind of balance that a little bit too. But obviously, everybody doesn't write for financial gain, but a lot of people do. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. You should, I believe, you should always find a way to monetize things you love, because that, in my opinion, is just a life lived. That's a life blessed. If you don't have to go to a job that you hate, if you're able to work a job that you love and make money off of that, and still be able to serve others and make other people happy, wow, that's how it's supposed to be. All right, guys, let's move on, and I will talk to you soon.